Politics and government matter. Americans, we find, are apathetic about politics and government. American youth are less likely to be informed about government and politics and participate less in politics. The question is, are you ignorant or apathetic? I'm looking for an answer more like nope and nope, but more and more today the answer in America is I don't know and I don't care. But the fact that you're in this class, AP Government and Politics, means that you're interested in learning about government, American style. Is keeping up to date with political affairs very important to you? I hope so if you're in this class, but as we can see here, more and more the answer is less and less. Looking at this chart, you might be asking what happened from 1984 to 1988. Well, we took a few years off. Reagan seemed to have it under control. See, like, took the day off? Okay, I'm reaching here. Who is your president? What state was he born in? Who's Eric Holder? Who's John Roberts? If you don't know the answers to these questions, look it up. But any score over 2 out of 4 on questions such as this is better than average. And sadly, if you got 1 out of 4, you're better than most 18 to 29-year-olds. What happened to us? We're the country that went to the moon. Fear not, young scholars. You too will be political and governmental geniuses. What does this chart tell us about voting turnout? For young, for the old. Just in terms of statistics, what does this chart not tell us? Or who does the chart not inform us about? Okay, government. Government is the institutions and processes through which public policies are made for society, which should lead to 2 basic questions. How should we govern? And what should government do? Politics is the process by which we select our governmental leaders and what policies these leaders produce. Politics produces authoritative decisions about public issues. Or we can consider Laswell's definition of who gets what, when, and how. The policy-making system is the process by which policy comes into being and evolves over time. The policy-making system starts with we the people. The people have interests, problems, and concerns, like health care or jetpacks. And trust me, if you get a jetpack, you better be thinking about health care. Linkage institutions connect the people to the government. Political parties, elections, news, interest groups, all of these are linkage institutions. The linkage institutions help get issues onto the policy agenda. The policy agenda are those political issues that people discuss. These arise when people disagree about a problem and how to fix it. So some issues will be considered and others will not, and a government's policy agenda changes regularly. What are some things on the government's policy agenda right now? The policy-making institutions take action on the policy agenda items, or not. What do I mean by that? Well, inaction is a policy. How so? Would invading Syria have consequences or effects? Would remaining neutral have consequences? So is inaction a policy? Can you come up with your own example? Post in the comments. Make sure that you use a complete thought. For example, type, an example of how inaction is a policy is da-da-da-da. Here are some types of public policies by the various policy-making institutions. It's a good idea to have your own examples. For instance, for regulation, the EPA regulates environmental policing. People have concerns. Through linkage institutions, their concerns become part of the policy-making agenda. Policymakers make policy based on some concerns, and then the new policy has impacts, which affects people, and it starts all over.
Oh man, are you okay?
Oh my God.
Okay, that guy got his jetpack, but do you think that maybe he wants some other policies now? Like maybe healthcare? We're going to look at several theories of democracy. We're going to start with the idea of traditional democratic theory. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson would like this one. The idea of traditional democratic theory starts with this. Democracy is a system of selecting policymakers and of organizing government so that policy represents and responds to the public's preferences. It needs equality in voting, effective participation, enlightened understanding, citizen control of the agenda, and inclusion. Another theory of democracy is pluralist theory, which is a theory of government and policies emphasizing that politics is mainly a competition among groups, each one pressing for its own preferred policies. The idea is that groups will work together and that public interest will prevail. It's a positive view. That is, pluralist theory views that while the system is different than how Madison drew it up, it's not all about us voting now, we at least get fair results. In other words, corporations want profits, labor wants benefits, and through their lobbies and efforts, things get sorted out whether or not anyone votes. Elite and class theory is interesting. Elite and class theory is a theory of government and politics contending that societies are divided along class lines and that an upper class elite will rule regardless of the formal niceties of government organization. It's the idea that not all groups are equal and that policies benefit those with money or power. The basic idea here is that a relatively low number of very powerful, usually corporations, largely get what they want. So laws get passed and change happens, it just doesn't benefit everybody equally. But at least it's a system. Hyperpluralism is a unique theory of government. It's a theory of government and politics contending that groups are so strong the government is weakened. There are too many ways for groups to control policy, and the result is confusing and contradictory policies. So of the four theories we've looked at, hyperpluralism is the only one that says government does not work. The others, whether it's elite and class theory or traditional democratic theory, they hold that government works, it just doesn't work equally for everyone. Is any one of these right? Well, I'm not telling you that one is. The idea is that you need to understand these different theories, and a good student will be able to support or attack any and all of them. So, how does this slide relate to the four theories we've studied? There are several challenges to democracy. Increased technical expertise is the idea that understanding how government works is so complicated that few people are able to make change happen. How many people really understand the full tax code? How many people really understand fully the welfare system? Don't confuse this definition of technical expertise with understanding how computers or magnets work. That's important too, but understanding our definition for this class is a key to success. Another problem facing democracy is limited participation in government. When citizens don't vote, what's the effect of that? Another challenge facing government is escalating campaign costs. As TV advertisements have driven the cost of elections up, the amount of money involved in politics raises some serious questions about who sets the agenda. And finally, a large modern nation like ours has diverse political interests, which some say lead to political gridlock. And a parting thought, in America, individualism plays a major role, and it also flavors the way we understand how government should work. That's why, despite arguments to the contrary, our nation's taxes are relatively low compared to the rest of the developed world. Okay, that's it for Chapter 1. See you tomorrow.